So do you think we should have a professional intro?
Yeah, this is supposed to be our professional intro.
So we got it. Okay, so let's pick a word, and we've had a shitload of discussions prior to clicking record, which we should have recorded. Apart from all the
No, we
people
won't.
apart from all the people we were slagging off. No, we didn't. Honestly, we're nice about people. So the word is positivity.
Well, toxic. Oh,
Well, I
if you
suppose yeah,
said
we can
word,
add
then
toxic to it, can't we? I mean, okay, so sorry, I'm sitting at my desk. I shouldn't do that when I'm trying to talk. So positivity is really interesting. So I have fallen into that evangelical trap of reframing everything as positive. Your cat died? Oh my God, but just think what you can do with that extra space in the corner of your room, or it's all part, that person died. Well, it's all part of God's plan. I mean, it's the kind of stuff which I've fallen into that. Not that I've never said it's all part of God's plan. That is not me, but I fall into that trap of instantaneously taking something which might well be a pile of steaming turd and try to turn it into gold. And I've done that because it's made me feel good, and because I've probably drunk the Kool-Aid. I've probably read the self-help books which talk about it. And I've got to that point where it's like, you know what, I really just want everything to be positive. And then my friend Josie, who's awesome, sent me this amazing book called Toxic Positivity. So for those of you who are listening on the radio, I've got a book called Toxic Positivity from Whitney Goodman, and it really kind of opened my eyes to things and made me look at where I was being a bit of a dick and where I was saying things, and the reason I was saying things was yeah, technically I was right. Something does happen. There is a lesson. You can move on from it. There is no doubt about that there is always an upside to a downside, but it doesn't have to be in the moment. And most of the time that I was trying to reframe that as positive for someone was either in a coaching context, because I felt that maybe what I should be doing is they should be getting value from me. I should be helping them to move forward, or their place where they were at that moment brought up so much discomfort for me that I couldn't sit with it. And I had a friend who died early this year, only 51 years old, really, really, really sad. And before I went to Edinburgh early this year, I went to her funeral, and I chatted to her husband, and we just saw her, and I just said to him, it's shit. There's no other way to put it. It is shit. I don't know what to say to you, but know that if there's anything you need help with, let me know. And that was it. I didn't need to kind of turn around and go, it's all part of a plan from, some bloke with a beard who doesn't really exist, or, it eases suffering, or all of that kind of stuff. It's like, no, it's shit. Let's call it what it is, and let's accept that. Yeah. So that's kind of where I go with positivity, is that reframing, massively important. Being able to take something and give it a different meaning. Yes, especially if it's holding you back. But actually, there's times where you need to look at that thing which has landed in your life, which is a big pile of shit, and go, that's a big pile of shit.
Yeah.
And accept it.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that, because I think I know in the clinics I run at the moment, a lot of people, I think, because of the way society, especially Western society, kind of conditions us to like crack on, push on through.
Yeah.
It's, and I see so many people who just, one of the things I routinely do when people are presenting to me is looking at what's happened in their past, looking at adversity, trauma, how they were raised. And some of them have like never really, they know it's happened, but kind of not really sat with it and acknowledged it, because they kind of have this feeling like they're not supposed to, like they should just get on with it. And actually, like you say, sitting there and just saying to them when they're talking and listening, go, that's shit. That is shit. But I know from like my own perspective, like when I was probably 5 years ago, like 5-6 years ago, when I was experiencing suicidal ideation, was making plans in my life, and I was in mental health, but I was so kind of I probably needed treatment and support at the time, but I was anti it because I didn't want to get brought into the mental health system I was working at the time, because I didn't want someone to, you know, I didn't want to be care coordinated. I didn't want someone to say you might want to take some medications, or if the therapy I needed, I'd be on a long waiting list. I just didn't want to. I thought it'd be better going on my own. So I started delving into like some of that kind of positivity stuff. And I can remember like at the time, I mean, I was feeling a little bit better then, but I did start getting into some of this law of attraction stuff. You know, read The Secret. I read
You mean this?
Yeah, that fucking.
Don't ask me why I've got a copy of The Secret on my desk. It's a long story. I'm going to send it to someone.
Yeah, it's that, what is it? Abraham Hicks. There's one of them books, and it was like Think and Grow Rich and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, and I just kind of got, it makes you feel special because it makes you feel like you're special. But I remember the thing was, one of them was kind of like, you got to try and maintain a positive thought, maintain positive thinking, and like almost like if you think negatively, you're going to attract stuff. And I can remember like driving to work all the time for a good period, thinking, right, same affirmations, think positive, and just thinking, and at the time thinking, and then getting anxious about when I wouldn't do it, because you know you can't concentrate on what you think, especially if I'm sitting there. Also, was still doing my job at the time. I was sitting in front of people, talking to them, exploring their mental health, what was going on for them. And then I was like, oh my God, I thought a negative thought. You know, a tsunami is going to come down on I was living in Exeter at the time, and it was like, oh, I mean, I wasn't right by the coast, but close enough. I was thinking a tsunami is going to come over, and you kind of like, and you just think, oh my God. But one of the most, but I think that fitted with how I was raised, because I was very much a people pleaser because of what I experienced when I was young. I kind of walking on eggshells around my dad, try not to piss anyone off, didn't want to say anything that was going to upset people, didn't want to make decisions that were going to upset people. So I've always been a bit of a people pleaser. So for me, it almost became a way to always look on the positive side and act like I've never got problems. Just kind of became another mask for me to actually confront the shit I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
But as I've got older, and I knew it's already in my work, but it was kind of like I didn't want to acknowledge it. It was weird. It's like actually acknowledging that shit is going on, or that you're feeling shit, actually allows you to tackle it rather than pretending it's okay. Like, you know, if you've got, it's the way I look at it is like you've got a leak in you've got a leak in the roof that's coming through, and you know over time it's, you know, it's basically you can see the patch in the roof get more and more water's coming through, and you can go, oh, it's not that bad, or if I just think positive, then God or the universe will fix it and it will stop, and or it's all for a reason. But eventually, if you carry on with that attitude, the fucking roof's going to fall in. And that's what happens with people who continue, honestly, who carry on acting positive and don't actually go, actually, this is shit. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling upset. I'm discontent. I'm frustrated. I'm annoyed with how shit life is at times, because it is for all of us at points. And actually acknowledging that is so freeing, that I just, and actually the byproduct of allowing ourselves to acknowledge that is that actually lets go of those emotions to an extent that we then allow ourselves to feel more positive. We feel free. I saw a woman the other day who literally had never talked about the huge extensive trauma she went through, but literally then burst into tears and said, God, I feel so much better for talking about that and acknowledging that. Now, of course, that doesn't mean the whole life's going to be sorted, but it's like I feel like the toxic positivity is almost like it causes us to carry this baggage, this burden with us that we're so scared to look at, because we're worried that if we acknowledge it, then everything's going to fall apart. But actually, by acknowledging it, it lightens us, it frees us a little bit from it, and allows us to live our life like more authentically, which you like to talk about. And I honestly think that this is from a social media perspective and the stuff that's out there, in the self-help perspective, I feel it's detrimental and causing a lot of harm to people who are generally going through shit, who are told just think positive and you'll manifest changes in your life. It's almost like a privilege to act like that, because usually the people who say that sort of stuff have a certain level of income, certain level of security, most of their needs are met, and they go, oh, look, I just manifested this new car, which I've managed, which they don't mention, like they fucking probably they got a husband who earns loads of money, everything's cushy. It's not, I wouldn't sit there to someone who's barely paying their bills, has probably got a drug addiction to manage the emotions of something, it's trauma they're going through, you know, and go, oh, have you thought about thinking positive thoughts and manifesting, you know, if you just think positive, maybe if you meditate, say a few affirmations and visualize what you want, then your life will change. It's like, I wouldn't dream of saying that. Of course, we plant seeds of hope. We work out plans to help them. We offer as much support as we can. Literally, it's fucking, I honestly think it's a crock of shit, and it's just a massive marketing scheme to get money out of people. It really is. I mean, I'm sure there is some truth, maybe, to aspects of it. Like, you know, I don't believe the universe necessarily. I mean, I do believe there's more to the world than we realize, but generally, I don't think it's the universe gives us signs. I think we think of something, and what we think of is what we tend to notice. And that's more about that than universe and manifesting. It's like, you know, again, I'll give an example of that. You know, when people say, like, if you you know, you don't sit there in your at home and just thinking about what you want and it happens. You have to get out there and make it happen. And I always give the example, if you were to stand in a crowd and just think about what you wanted, about what you do to kind of put yourself out there, and didn't say anything, no one's going to come up to you. You don't suddenly give off a different energy and people come up to you and go, oh, I want to buy this product of you. You go, hey, everyone, I'm Dave, the coach, and I work with you to try and improve your life. And people go, oh, I'll have a chat with you. And it's through action. It's not attraction, it's an action. And that kind of brings it, and it's like putting yourself out there and stuff. Yet people, this whole toxic positivity, this talk about manifestation and stuff, it's fucking, it's harmful, in my opinion. But
so how do you feel about this exactly? I'm trying to work this out.
No, but the thing is, like,
good vibes only. Good vibes only.
Well, positivity is good. Like, I think the way I look at positive is that things are shit, but things can get better. And that's how I try and view it, and say, okay, this, how I feel now and what I'm going through isn't hopefully going to be forever, unless, like, you know, I'm a woman in Afghanistan right now, which I hope it isn't like that forever, you know, with what they're experiencing, but, you know, it might be. And so that's awful. But hopefully, you know, for most of us, our situations aren't permanent. And that's how I try to think, okay, this isn't permanent. Doesn't mean it, but it doesn't mean it's not shit right now. And I think it's actually acknowledging that that's shit rather than trying to go through that actually gives us more power. Now, of course, you don't want to wallow in self-pity and saying it's shit all the time. But just pretending it isn't, I think, is more detrimental to most than wallowing in it, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's that acceptance piece, and it's difficult to know where you want to get to if you don't know where you are. Yeah. And if you're constantly trying to move yourself away from where you are, then, I mean, okay, if you're in immediate danger, you get yourself out of it. But if the most dangerous thing you're experiencing at the moment is a negative thought, then try and understand why. And I mean, it is really interesting around the whole positive thoughts. And I think, yeah, being thinking positive thoughts makes us feel better. Absolutely. Yeah. But the law of attraction stuff is, and I've fallen for that before. I've been the one who's done affirmations, and they ground against who I was, and it was really, really, really uncomfortable. But the whole idea of being totally positive in the face of absolutely everything doesn't allow you to integrate how you're feeling. And I always think back to David Treleaven's book, which is on trauma-centered mindfulness. And he tells a story in there about how there's integration of trauma by experiencing the after effects of that. And he uses the example of a mom who's walking with the kids down the street. One kid runs off, goes to run in traffic. Mom just grabs him, just pulls him back onto the pavement just as a car's coming. Kid's in absolute bits, and the mom's basically like, no, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Which is a natural thing that, you know, as a parent, I've done that because it's really uncomfortable for your kids to cry. So you instantly want to stop them from crying. But actually that process of crying, going through that experience is what helps him to integrate the trauma. I'm pretty sure it's him as a boy.
Relieves the stress, doesn't it? That's
exactly. But as soon as you say, no, don't cry, you're stopping that process of integration.
Yeah.
And it comes back to bite you on the arse later on. And, you know, we've talked about trauma. Everything's trauma at the moment. You know, if you couldn't get sprouts from Tesco on a Friday, it becomes a traumatic experience. But everything gets labelled as trauma. But that ability to feel everything and to feel your way through it and to come into it, to notice, to experience it and come out the other side of it, a different person, that's the positivity. That's the positive thing. But not turning around and going, no, everything is fucking wonderful. And even when there's a meme on this, which is, I know it's a dog, which is standing in a house, which is just on fire and burning and going, no, this is fine. And it is that whole kind of denial of what's really going on.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And like you said, it's like one of the most of the best therapeutic interventions that people in my experience work are those around and focus around acceptance. Not that it's going to be like this way always, but this is the situation you're working with. Like you said, like, you know, you have to work with what actually is, not what you wish it could be. And this is why, like, some of those, when you talk about affirmations, some of the stuff people say to each other, I say, well, I'm a millionaire with a Lamborghini living in Malibu, in, you know, and you're like, but you're not. So, but if that's what you want, how are you going to make it?
I am a radiant butterfly. I mean, look at me. Do I look like I can close my eyes and I can say that as many times as I want. I will not be a radiant butterfly.
I think you look more like a Guess Who character. But
I've actually got a meme of that where I am playing a Guess Who character. At the moment, I actually look like I'm probably homeless, but that's because the beard is getting a bit out of hand, and every time I go into a shop, someone offers me a coffee.
No, you're just spiritual, mate. Spiritual people like to just grow hair, and they think they're better. Not you, but oh, look, I grow my hair. And it's spiritual. I'm like, fuck off.
What you can't see is behind the baldness is a really big ponytail. So let's land this beautiful story about positivity.
Yeah.
So being positive is cool. There's nothing wrong with
No.
As Monty Python say, always look at the bright side of life. There's nothing wrong with that, but not at the expense of what's really going on. And check yourself. If you are in a situation with somebody who is hurting, who has trauma, who has something going on in their life, and you are that person who is so bloody lucky to be in their presence and be able to support them, if you don't know what to say, tell them you don't know what to say. If they are feeling pretty shitty because they've lost someone and they're grieving, acknowledge it, and then just give them the space to do it and agree with them. They say it's shit, you know, because it is. Give them the space and ask them what they need and give them the space they need. Don't try and drag them out of it because you're the one who feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's usually what people do is just listen, let them vent and encourage them to vent. I just think all emotions are welcome. And they should be.
Yeah, unless of course they're negative, in which case it's only positive ones which are welcome.
Yeah, but if you think too negatively, you will manifest a tsunami, and that will kill millions of people, and it will be all your fault.
I'm sure there's a bit in the Roald Dahl book where he talks about grannies, and there's two different grannies, and one of them thinks always happy and positive thoughts, and she's beautiful on the inside, looks beautiful on the outside. And then the other one thinks nasty and evil sort of thoughts and is ugly on the outside. So Roald Dahl, you've probably ruined toxic positivity for me.
Yes, Roald.
But anyway,
anti-Semitic. I don't know.
We're going
deviating. I know. I like Roald Dahl personally, but yeah.
Well, don't worry. They're going to change all the books and make them totally different, so they don't offend anyone at some point soon. There you go, kids. That's how we're going to finish today. We're going to finish it on the idea that you should probably read Roald Dahl.
Yes.
See you later.
Get upset about it.
Next time.
Yeah.
So you've been listening to Alex and Dave. And we couldn't actually think of a way to finish off each episode. So Alex is doing his version of Careless Whisper for your listening pleasure. But if you've enjoyed today's episode and you like Alex's musical interlude, then come and tell us. You can find us online somewhere. And if you like what we do, 5-star review would always be good. And share the love.